Let's start with some of the major headlines with Down to Earth this time. So, one is related to food shortage. Now, it is believed that nearly 2 billion people just in Southeast Asia would witness acute food shortage. So, 2 billion people are estimated to undergo this acute food and water shortage, and this would include nearly two-thirds of the region which was covered with ice. So, most of the belt includes the Kush Himalayan mountain ranges. The next is in Assam. Dehing Patkai is one of the new wildlife sanctuary that has been inaugurated in June itself, and this is one of the second parks to be recognized within the state as per the notification of Ramonia National Park. So Ramoina National Park is another important national park from Assam. So Assam, the new wildlife sanctuary, the new national park, the seventh national park that has come up is the Dehing Patkai. India is ought to lose nearly 3% of its GDP just due to global warming and climate change. This has been released by one of the reports of the London think tank, which is ODI, Overseas Development Institute, and it is believed that if the world warms by, or India warms by 3 degrees Celsius, India can lose nearly 10% of the GDP. So just with 3-degree rise in the temperature, nearly 10% of the GDP of India can be affected. The next important topic is regarding petrol blending. Now, India has been focusing on ethanol blended petroleum. Petroleum, along with 20% ethanol, is the new composition, and that is sought to be released by 2025. However, this is 5 years ahead of the deadline that has been announced in the month of June. So, that is the concept of blended fuels coming on, and this is a concept in order to reduce the carbon emissions. And as of now, India blends 8.5% of the petroleum, and this is supposed to be increased significantly. The next is the biomedical waste. So far, it is believed that 12% of the total biomedical waste which is generated in India is left or dumped without any treatment, which is very worrying issue, we can say. But however, during the COVID times, we have seen that this is increased to 33% of the non-COVID waste, and therefore is another important thing that needs to be taken into account. The next important issue that we would discuss is the recent 4 bills or regulations that have come up in Lakshadweep, and because of which we have seen rising controversies. Now, what are those? The first is prevention of antisocial activities regulation, and this is with the idea to reduce the criminal activities on the island. Now, the section 3 of this regulation act talks about that person would be prevented from execution by any public order. So section 3 is important, and this detention can be up to a year without a public notice, and therefore has been a controversial topic. The next is Panchayati regulation, the draft Lakshadweep Panchayat Regulation Act 2021. Now this says that if a person has more than 2 children, they cannot contest the Gram Panchayat elections. Now this has been brought into account with the concept that Lakshadweep, the population density is alarming, and it is seen that Lakshadweep has a population density of 2013 persons per square kilometer. This is much higher than the national average of only 382. So at the national average we have a density of 382. Lakshadweep itself has a density of 2013, which is significantly higher, and because of which this draft Panchayat Regulation Act has been released. The next is Draft Lakshadweep Animal Preservation Regulation. Now, this talks about prohibiting selling or buying of beef or beef products, and if any person is found guilty, then there would be a 10 years, up to 10 years of sentence that could be given with a fine of up to 5 lakhs. So, a significant pressure on the conservation of animals is there. The next is the Draft Lakshadweep Development Authority Regulation Act 2021. Now, this is also known as Draft Lakshadweep Town and Country Planning Regulation, and it talks about the powers of the authority to use the land and the water. So, they have permission to develop the land, they have permission to develop the water areas and acquire the things for planning. So, if we look onto this map, we have total 36 islands in Lakshadweep, of which only 10 of those are inhabited. Which are those? So, two of the important ones are the Kadmat and Minicoy. Here, these are populated ones and they have lot of developmental activities which are planned. However, two of those which are uninhabited have seasonal visits by the fishermen, and there you have seen numerous activities. Those are Suheli and Cheriam. So those four islands have been important, and the remaining islands, the major islands, the population, the land and the lagoon area have been marked here, which is again important. But the idea is some of the islands are there which are not inhabited by people but are visited by fishermen seasonally, and the administration has demolished the kind of sheds that the fishermen have built and taken control of the land area. So there has been a rising controversy between those regions. Now, if we look onto the structure of Maldives and Lakshadweep, these two appear very similar. Both of them are coral rich regions, but there is still a major difference. What is those? In Maldives, we have nearly 26 atolls. Now, atolls are ring shaped coral structures which are seen, and these atolls, each of the atoll can have nearly 100 islands. So, we have nearly 26 atolls which are seen in the region of Maldives, and Maldives have more than 1,000 islands. However, if we contrast this 1,000 islands, if we contrast this with Lakshadweep, Lakshadweep just has 36 islands. So a significant difference. The next major difference is in Maldives, there is lot of private investment coming up. So big estates, big resorts, big tourist centers coming up. But Lakshadweep is owned by the rural people, the local people, and that makes Lakshadweep very unique, very different. Lakshadweep is 100% rural. So 100% rural area, and this does not have any concept of building plans or big layouts so far. However, as we said, Maldives is run by private companies, big buildings, big infrastructure, big kind of infrastructural facilities are seen. However, in Lakshadweep, everything is local. The next is another interesting topic that we would discuss, and that is about blue whales. Now, this has been an interesting thing that blue whales are rarely found in Indian Ocean. This is for the first time off the coast of Lakshadweep, blue whales have been identified, and this has been identified by a team of researchers from University of Washington. Now, when they were identifying this, the smallest species of this mammal, the smallest subspecies of the blue whale, which is known as pygmy blue whale, has been identified in the waters close to Lakshadweep. Now, how to detect blue whale? It is very difficult. The only way through which we detect it is through the songs they use to communicate with one another. And this has been studied by underwater microphones which have been placed at Kavaratti, the capital of Lakshadweep. So underwater, in the capital of Lakshadweep, these microphones are placed, and these microphones capture the songs of blue whale through which they communicate, and the recordings have shown that they have been present here during the months of summers, during the months of winters. Blue whale is important to study because it is one of the endangered species as per the IUCN classification. So very rare now, and therefore at the blink of extinction. And the presence in Lakshadweep has made it mandatory that Lakshadweep should now be part of the whale conservation plans. The next is AgriStack. What is AgriStack? Again, a very unique initiative. This would be one of the world's largest data exercise to bring all agricultural farmers together. The idea would be each agricultural farmer would be linking the Aadhaar to a unique digital identification number, and through which all the personal details, the cropping details, the land details, the fertilizer details, the land holding details, the benefits, the soil health card, and everything would be linked together. Through this, the farmers would have access to the open database, and this would also enable clear and smoother bank transactions for the farmers. The next interesting study is about one of the very ecological sensitive regions, Uttarakhand. Recently, we have seen how flash floods were seen in the regions of Chamoli, and with the development and the highway projects, the HEP projects developing in Uttarakhand, this region is on the brink of various issues. For example, landslides have increased, flash floods have increased. So this ecologically sensitive region, which is accounting for nearly 71% of the total forest area here, has been very important to study. Now, despite of the fact that 71% of the land area in Uttarakhand is forest, of this just 2.08% is the contribution towards GDP. So despite of huge agriculture, the contribution towards GDP is very small. Now, what the environmentalists say? Environmentalists say rather than having and focusing on GDP, which is the gross domestic product, what we need to focus on is GEP, which is the gross environmental product. Now, this environmental product is based on 4 pillars. What are those? Forest, air, soil, and water. So based on these 4 pillars, the ecological growth should be taken into account and not just the economic growth. So GDP itself is not sufficient. We need to focus on GEP, which is the gross environmental product, and this would help us in adjusting the pollution cost. So pollution cost must be adjusted, and with this we can have two same economies which can have the same set of GDP per capita, but they can have a significant different impact on the well-being of the people residing in those regions, and this is governed by the green cover, and therefore Uttarakhand would definitely benefit if the green cover is maintained, but it is at the same time essential that with this green cover the economic products do increase. The next is the study on Venus. Venus was a very important part of study. However, of late the researches on Venus subsided a lot. It was only after the discovery of phosphine gas. Now, phosphine was important. Why? Because phosphine is believed to be obtained by the breakdown of organic matter. Now, since phosphine is believed to be formed by the breakdown of organic matter, it signifies that in some form there is a organic life, if not on the land, probably in the atmosphere of Venus, and Venus is also known as Earth's twin. So again, we are now in depth into the study of Venus. So two important projects, one is the DaVinci Plus and the other is Veritas. DaVinci Plus is the deep atmosphere Venus investigation of noble gases, chemistry and imaging, and this actually measures the air of Venus. However, the other project is Veritas. Veritas is Venus emissivity, radio science, INSAR, topography and spectroscopy, and this actually maps the geological features located on Venus. It not only just maps the geological features, but it also has VEM, which is Venus emissivity mapper, that undergoes or explains through the measurement of infrared light that comes off from the surface. So from the surface, whatever infrared light comes off, that wavelength is sensitive to water vapor in the atmosphere, and based on this, we are trying to study and understand what atmospheric composition does Venus has. Da Vinci Plus has come up with a result that 96% of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. However, we are trying to still move into the depth of it. There is another important telescope which is known as James Webb Telescope. Now, James Webb Telescope basically discovers or works on exoplanets. What are exoplanets? Exoplanets are the planets which exist outside. Exo means outside. So, outside our solar system. So, James Webb Telescope is focusing on the planets which are outside our solar system. The next is Remdesivir versus Remdesivir, one of the major antivirals that India was fighting for in the second wave of COVID. Now, what is the difference? The difference here is very, very important. Remdesivir is produced by Gilead Pharmaceuticals, and Gilead is a company of United States of America. It provides license to India, and these are VL, or what we call as voluntary license. Voluntary license actually means that the generic drug manufacturer allows to make and export the drug. So, it provides the permission to make the drug in India, but the original rights are held with whom? The original rights are held with Gilead Pharmaceuticals. Remdesivir is a collaboration, and this is based on the concept of compulsory license, not voluntary license. So what is the difference? Under compulsory license, this is a flexible permit which is granted under the WTO, or the World Trade Organization agreement of IP rules. What is that? The idea is that the member country can provide the rights of patent if required in the case of national health emergency. So, if required in the case of national health emergency, the patents would be provided to Russia as well. So, Russia manufactures Remdesivir. Now, when India was hit by the second wave, nearly 1/4 of the total antiviral supplies came from Russia. And this was significantly at a lower cost than what Remdesivir was providing into the market. Now, therefore, there has been a constant question whether the company should work with a voluntary license or we should go with a compulsory license. Now, the thing is, usually voluntary licenses are easy to maintain. However, with a compulsory license, there are more of legal formalities that need to be done. But in India, it was only the NATCO Pharma has compulsory license for one of the drugs which is originally by Bayer's, and this drug is Nexavar. Nexavar is the drug which is used for cancer, and NATCO Pharma, which is a Hyderabad based company, now has the compulsory license for this. That means this is produced in India at a significantly lower cost. The next is the same company, the NATCO Pharma, is now trying to acquire a compulsory license for another antiviral drug which is from United States, and this is again the baricitinib. Baricitinib is one of the drugs which is again produced by United States, and this is to treat the COVID patients. However, this idea of compulsory license was not permitted, and finally it landed with a voluntary license again with India. So starting 2020, we have seen numerous countries moving towards this idea of getting a compulsory license. Some of the important ones to quote are Germany, Israel. So these nations have been moving forward with a compulsory license, and if India moves forward with a compulsory license, there could be a change in the paradigm or the situation that can be seen. The next is mucormycosis. Now, mucormycosis cases have significantly increased. We have covered mucormycosis in a separate lecture. The idea is mucormycosis, which is also known as the black fungus, is caused by mucorales, which is the order is mucorales, and zygomata is the is the kind of fungi which is used for, or which is the basis for mucormycosis. Now, some of the common symptoms include fever, skin lesions, black discharge from nose, eye pain, blurred vision in certain cases, and the only treatment here is liposomal amphotericin B, which is the only treatment for mucormycosis as of now. Now, India is a country which is home to nearly half of or the second largest world diabetic population, we can say, and therefore is highly vulnerable to mucormycosis. Two of the major cases where we have seen rising cases of mucormycosis are: first is people having diabetes, and second is unauthorized and extreme use of steroids. And both of these were reported significantly during the second wave of COVID in India. And therefore, what has happened? The third important is, with COVID-19, the glucose level in the blood increases significantly, and this damages the beta cells which produces insulin. So we have also seen that those people who normally did not had problems of diabetes have become diabetic post-COVID, and there has been rising amount of iron levels in the blood. Rising amount of iron levels in the blood again is an indicator that the body is susceptible to fungal infections, and therefore this is another reason why mucormycosis is on the rise. Besides this, we have cases of white fungus which is commonly seen, most common, which remains there with the prolonged period of illness. The whitening of the tongue is one of the symptoms where we say candida or white fungus is commonly observed. The next is yellow fungus. Yellow fungus appears with greenish aspergillus, and this is again commonly used. Now, when it comes to the liposomal amphotericin B, why it is so important? Amphotericin B, which is the liposomal amphotericin B, which is also known as LAMP in short form, which we would move further with. So this LAMP is also used for Kala Azar. Now, Kala Azar is one of the diseases which is very common in parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand. And as a part of agreement with the World Health Organization, these regions have to be provided with the liposomal amphotericin B, because this is part of the treatment regime for Kala Azar, and for which Gilead Pharmaceutical donates this medicine to India every year, and this is part of one of the agreements. However, with now mucormycosis on rise and COVID cases on rise, this demand has been significantly increased, and the amount which was donated was not sufficient. So, as per the revised guidelines, what is the amount of dosage that has to be used? So, it is 5 grams of liposomal amphotericin B per kg per day. That means if a person is weighing 60 kg, he or she would require 300 mg per day, and that is for a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks. The cost itself comes around 9 to 18 lakhs, which is a significant burden for a patient. Now, if the treatment is not available, the classic version of the same can be made possible, and this is at a very reduced cost of just 310 rupees per 5 grams. Per 50 milligrams. So there is a significant difference that needs to be taken into account, and we need to set into regime how these treatments and medicines would be brought for India. The next is vaccination. Now, COVAX is one of the major organizations that is trying to provide vaccines to the regions across the globe. So, 3 important organizations in line with that are WHO, World Health Organization, Gavi, and Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation. Now, of the 2.42 billion vaccines that have been administered globally, the low-income nations have received just 0.3%. High and upper middle income nations have administered 85% of the vaccines, and low middle income nations have administered 14%. And this talks about the huge disparity that comes when it talks about the distribution of vaccinations across the world. It is believed that the G7 nations, the seven high income nations, which include US, Japan, UK, have announced and talked about donating nearly 870 million vaccines to low income countries, but only half of them has been given so far. Africa is one of the countries that have been significantly lagging in terms of the availability for the vaccination. Also, among all the vaccines that have been released in the market, the Covishield, which is released by the Serum Institute, is at the lowest cost of nearly $3. However, we have a normal range of $1 to $40 that is charged for each of the vaccine, and the plan is to provide free vaccination to the population across the globe. The first case of COVID, which was discovered in Wuhan, it is believed that the Alpha variant, which was released later, was 50% more transmissible than the original COVID, which originated in Wuhan. However, it was believed that the Delta variant, which has come up, is 40% more transmissible than the Alpha variant that used to be. And now we are concerned about the Delta plus variant. We are still to have more studies on it. And globally, if we say in Africa, less than 2% of the population has received vaccination as compared to 11% globally. So there is a huge disparity in the distribution of vaccination, which is one of the major topics of discussions these days. So those were some of the top discussions for Down to Earth this time. The handouts would be available at ExamRace current affairs section. So you can simply go on to examrace.com current affairs, and you would find all the handouts for Down to Earth Yojana Kurukshetra there. And Down to Earth comes every fortnightly, every 15 days. So we would have the summary that would be discussed every month, both the summaries every 15 days we would be discussing those. So wish you a very good preparation ahead. Stay safe. Have a wonderful day.